What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In today's video, we got all types of creepy, weird, and mysterious videos on TikTok that'll make you question everything that no one can explain. That like and subscribe button, and let's dive in. Starting with this one, woman films her dog in a closet, saying it's a rescue dog, but people think Cracker wasn't a dog at all.
Evolving into a full-blown internet urban legend.
I've been getting a lot of questions about my dog Cracker. He's half Cocker Spaniel.
Did you see that? That's not a dog, y'all. That's a full-blown demon by the looks of it. Look at it.
It's about my dog Cracker. He's half Cocker Spaniel and Australian Shepherd.
Cracker, described as a rescue from Japan, supposedly a mix between a Cocker Spaniel and an Australian Shepherd, quickly became notorious due to his disturbingly unnatural appearance.
He's half Cocker Spaniel and Australian Shepherd. I rescued him. He's from Japan. Do you want a tree?
Evolving into a full-blown internet urban legend.
Stick your hand in that closet. Watch that thing. Alright guys, this next one, they spotted something scary in the ceiling. Some people are saying it's a skinwalker, but let's take a closer look and be the judges ourselves.
And then I see, I was staring at my ceiling right at work, and then I see this light right, and I go over here. What is that?
Oh, I do see it. It kind of looks like an Asian woman with long hair, like a scary doll looking at her. Now, I don't know if this is just down the river or what, but something massive's in there. That could be a manatee. An older manatee that's been through some battles, because you can see some of the scar tissue a little bit. See right there? Almost like it was a shark bite. What do you think that is?
Helicopter pilot was able to catch footage of what looks like Bigfoot dragging somebody through the forest. Now y'all look at this. Look at how strong this person is to be able to just drag somebody like that. Like, that is not a man in a suit. This footage right here looks very convincing to me.
Am I tripping, or does that look like it's spelling something? Like it's a E, a T, a F, a C, like the sticks are spelling something over there. Speaking about flashes, nature's own light show in action. This incredible electric scallop. How incredible is that? I wonder if that's real electricity, like if you touch it, it'll shock, you know. That would be an excellent addition in an aquarium, honestly. Imagine what it looked like at night with the lights off. You just see the blue lines going through. That's extremely cool. Speaking about electricity, that leads us to this next mysterious topic.
What if ether was the real fifth element, and it was intentionally removed from the periodic table? For thousands of years, civilizations around the world believed there were 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire, and a fifth element known as ether. In 1902, Dmitri Mendeleev, the creator of the periodic table, proposed a hypothetical substance he called newtonium, or ether. He believed it was an invisible substance that permeated all of space and existed beyond the known elements, the invisible medium that supposedly filled the universe itself. Ancient Greeks wrote about it, scientists discussed it, and old physics books regularly reference something called the luminiferous ether. But then, in the early 1900s, everything changed. According to the theory, this was the same period when the Rockefeller-backed education system began reshaping how science and history were taught. Older books disappeared from classrooms, new textbooks replaced them, and ideas that had once been openly discussed were gradually pushed to the fringes. The ether theory disappeared from mainstream science, and the idea of a fifth element was largely abandoned. Some researchers believe this was simply the natural progression of science, but others think something else happened. They point out that before the 1920s, countless books discussed ether, terrestrial magnetism, and strange forms of energy that seemed to exist all around us. Even Nikola Tesla spoke about the ether. He believed space was not empty. He described it as a medium filled with energy, a hidden force that could potentially be tapped into. And according to some researchers, many of Tesla's ideas only make sense if the ether actually exists. Then suddenly, those ideas were pushed aside, and according to the theory, removing ether did more than change science. It changed how people viewed reality itself, because if an invisible energy field connected everything, then technologies involving free energy, resonance, and frequency might become possible. What if ether was the real fifth element, and it was intentionally removed from the periodic table?
I need to know what it says on that bell, because they don't make them like that anymore.
Dicyanin glasses might be the wildest thing you've never heard of. These weird, funky blue goggles that allowed us to see dimensions we weren't supposed to before they got banned. You're not going to be able to find this one on Google, and in fact, finding any info about it was next to impossible. So I head over to Emergent to build our own research tool to figure out what these things are. Build me a tool that finds the most controversial topics on the internet and compiles them into an archive, allowing us to explore the hidden truth behind each of them, source links included. Cause ain't no way we're dealing with AI slop here. Check me out for more info. It does its thing, and there we go. It built us the archive. Let's have a look. Okay, hold up. This is actually sick. We got some banger topics in here, but what we're really after is Dicyanin glasses. There it is. Let's go. So we have our mainstream explanation here for all you debunker nerds out there. But what we're looking for is the confidential description. Now we're talking. Source links and all, so we have our proof too. So in 1911, a man named Walter John Kilner developed something called the Kilner screen, using a special material called Dicyanin, which is a crystallized blue dye derived using a very specific scientific process from coal tar. He mixed these crystals with a solution and poured the liquid Dicyanin sandwiched between two layers of glass. And when he looked through it, he saw something different. So normally our eyes are only able to see a very slim spectrum of light, the visible light spectrum that we see every day. There are also radio waves, microwaves, ultraviolet, X-rays, and more, which are also light rays but outside of our visible spectrum, so our eyes can't see them. But now looking through this Dicyanin glass screen, Kilner observed that he was not only able to see light outside of our typical visible spectrum, but also entirely new, unknown spectrums of light as well, allowing the user to see what he described to be the aura that surrounded and emanated people's bodies, the astral plane. A person's essential life force, their electromagnetic field, and how weak or strong it is, kinda like Neo from the Matrix. Stronger auras are carried by people with stronger presence and vice versa. Every human has an aura to some degree. According to him, people with epilepsy or mental deficiencies appear to have significantly smaller or contracted auras. And people like pregnant women had wider and more expanded auras, which is where the pregnancy glow comes from. But now this is where it gets a little disturbing. Kilner made a goggles version of this Dicyanin glass so he can walk around and test it out in public, the forbidden Dicyanin glasses. And what he noticed is that not everyone had an aura. We're not talking just a weak aura, but like none at all, as if they weren't even alive or maybe not even human, assumed to be some sort of strange entities living among us, disguised as regular people, but there's something else entirely. Whether it be extraterrestrial, supernatural, shapeshifters, demonic entities, or even interdimensionals, and they're all around us. He reported his findings in his book, The Human Atmosphere, written in 1911. Bro is literally the OG granddaddy of aura forming, and you can't even find any pics of him online. He wrote a revised version in June 1920 that expanded more on the notion of science finally catching up with claims of higher dimensions, and he sadly passed away that very same month. To be fair, he was 73 years old, but still interesting to note. And then sometime in the 1940s, the US government banned the use of Dicyanin dye, claiming it to be too toxic, and now you need special top secret clearance just to buy any of it yourself. But if you want to create something real, like your own app to learn about mysterious topics censored from the internet like this one, check out Emergent to my profile to see what you can come up with.
This was a true story. I was looking on eBay for a pair like 2 years ago. A red pair popped up, and they said this was I don't know if it was real or not, or if this pair was real, but it was authentic World War II Dicyanin night vision goggles, and they looked official, man. I should have got them, but I was skeptic. Those things sold. And it makes me wonder, about the special red Dicyanin glasses that they had people use for night vision in World War II that made them start going crazy, because all they saw was red all the time, and it like kind of did something with their minds.
I don't know, man. But here's the crazy part. Remember those hexagons? This is in Iceland. Same story. They have different theories as to how it formed. Once, this thing would have been massive. This one in Northern Ireland. And there's a cave, there's something opened it up at the bottom there. And on top, you got hexagons all over the place. This is in Antarctica. Antarctica has one as well. How? Please, just wondering here. Hexagons, magma, really? This one is in Armenia. That looks way too organized to me to be from magma cooling. I understand it's nearly unfathomable. Like, how could this thing, you tell me this is like a macro, like this would be so gigantic, like this would reach the freaking top of our firmament. No, this would reach pretty tall, wouldn't it? This is another angle of the one in Antarctica. No joke. And this is Giant's Causeway, again, in Ireland. What about all these fairy tales? Jack and the Beanstalk, the giant lived at the top of a tree that reached above the clouds. Hello? Again, Giant's Causeway in Ireland. Giant's Causeway. Interesting name. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this really is something I just am too foolish to understand, or if something else is going on here and history may not be quite the way we were told. I don't know, man. But here's the crazy part. Remember those hexagons? I don't know. Thing would have. I don't know, man.
That's because I truly believe that they're ancient petrified trees. I know some people say that it's pendant because of Roger at mud fossils, and I could see how you could say that, but they just look just like tree stumps to me.
This is an ancient window made of a single block of stone. What you're seeing should not even exist. Look carefully from top to bottom. You don't even see any joints. This entire window is made of one solid block of granite. They definitely used machines during ancient times. Look at this one. Be honest with yourself. Is this possible without machines? Look at the work here. It looks like a zipper. Do you think you can do this with chisels? And this is also granite, one of the hardest rocks in the world. But you know what's crazy? This block of granite is at least 15 feet tall. And again, look carefully from bottom to top. Do you see any joints? It is one single block of granite covered with extraordinary stonework. Did ancient builders use machines just like what we do today? How else do you explain this? And this window, I don't even know how to explain this ancient stonework. It's made of stone, but it appears to be made of a single rope and has all these knots. But look inside the holes. It even goes in 3 dimensions. You can see the rope going inside as well. How did ancient builders make these windows?
I'm almost thinking, like, did they petrify the ropes? Like, did it use some type of, like, Medusa? Like when Medusa looked at you, it's like I forgot, like, you turn to stone. I forgot the name for it, but, like, could they do this to, like, buildings somehow? And that would explain these crazy looking statues that have such human capabilities. Like, you could see certain joints inside the statues, I don't know. It is a mystery. Petrification beam.
Here we have a video by Maria Chrysler, who works within our team. And this is showing the construction of a filament in a chain-like way with the nanobots. So the nanobots are actually building this filament. And these are biosynthetic filaments that are building a web within the body. My view, and the reason it's happening, is to rewire the human from the inside out using synthetic biology as the backbone for a new kind of controllable organism. This isn't theoretical. These are real. These are global. We're seeing them in everybody.
This is true. I wonder if this affects animals. Like, are they able to put it inside dogs, cats, birds, you know, because if you think about it, they breathing the same smart dust, eating the same processed food we are. So it's getting scary if this is real. Again, just looking at a picture, you know, that doesn't tell us unless you actually looking at the microscope yourself and can identify what it is, but it's still a scary thought to say the least.
Here in live blood analysis, you see 2 hydrogel puddles and they're full of nanotechnology. And then you see a line of quantum dots. So you can actually see that one puddle is communicating with another. So we're witnessing active systems here that are speaking to each other inside of human fluid. This isn't theory, this is evidence. This is part of the transhumanism agenda.
If you want to know who's running the show on the physical plane, you have to go to demon-infested Rome and the If you want to know who's running the show on the physical plane, If you want to know who's running the show on the physical plane, you have to go to demon-infested Rome and the families that have controlled Rome. And their other corporations, i.e. Paris, London and Bonn in Germany, DC, Wall Street and the Zionists. So they are all controlled by Italian families, rest assured, and Germanic families. Because of the Holy Roman Empire, which was once Roman and German. And the German families would be the Rothschilds, the Bowers, the Windsors, the black nobility, basically. Black because their deeds are black. They are witches, covens of witches, den of thieves. They are Pharisees, they are offspring of vipers. They have no source connection. All they want to do is rule at all costs, no matter how, even if they suffer. For instance, which are toxic, and all of these horrible fluoride in the water and all of this poison that they're putting everywhere, chemicals. This is deliberate because they are masters at destroying the souls of other beings. The Vatican's a gang, the Jesuits are a gang, the mafia, Khazarian/Hyksos gang. There's lots of mafias, there's a lot of gangs, and mostly top-heavy with warmongering. They love war so that we can always have fear, and so that we always live in fear and anxiety and the dread of what may come upon us. These gangs are basically infested by demons, and not in the traditional sense of demon, but in the sense of egregore. These gangs, they create egregores. That's why gangs are formed, you see. And it's why the scriptures warn us against going with the crowd. Better to walk alone than with a crowd that's going the wrong way.
Tartaria mud flood theory is a controversial hypothesis that suggests a catastrophic event took place in the 18th or 19th century, resulting in a massive flood of mud that covered entire cities and wiped out entire civilizations. According to this theory, the civilization of Tartary, which was once a powerful empire that covered a large part of the Eurasian continent, was destroyed by this event, and its existence was deliberately erased from history by the ruling elite. One of the main pieces of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the presence of mysterious buildings and structures in various parts of the world that seem to be older than the officially recognized timeline of human history. These structures, known as megaliths, are often made of large stone blocks that would have been impossible to move and erect using the technology available at the time they were supposedly built. Another piece of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the strange architectural features found in many old buildings in Europe and elsewhere. These features, such as strange windows and doorways, seem to have no practical purpose and are unlike anything found in modern architecture. Proponents of the theory argue that these features are remnants of an older civilization that was destroyed by the mud flood. There are also claims that the Tartaria mud flood theory is supported by geological evidence. Some researchers have pointed to the presence of sedimentary layers in certain regions of the world that seem to indicate a massive flood event took place at some point in the past. Other researchers have claimed that the soil samples from various parts of the world contain high levels of unusual substances, such as iridium, that are typically associated with meteor impacts or other catastrophic events. Proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory argue that the mainstream scientific community has ignored or deliberately suppressed this evidence in order to maintain the status quo and avoid acknowledging the possibility that there may have been an advanced civilization that was wiped out by a natural disaster.
What happened to Atlantis, the city of Mu, you know?
They also argue that the ruling elite have deliberately erased the memory of Tartary from history in order to maintain their own power and control over the population.
Like the Men in Black Flash.
Naik! Wah, gitu naon! Gitu naon itu! Wah, naik! Wah, gitu naon, wah! Wow! Itu naon, weh! Naik, wah! Naik! Wah, gitu naon! Gitu naon itu! Wah, naik! Wah, gitu naon, weh! Wow! Itu naon, weh! Naik, wah! Naik! Wah, gitu naon! Gitu naon!
I feel like they're not acting. If they are, they deserve an Oscar. And it's hard to see that, you know, it's not AI generated. I'm not seeing anything look wonky. If we get a close-up on here, you can actually see his hand affect the waterfall. You see how it was a quick splash there? Yeah, so I don't think this is generated. Now the question is, what is that?
I'm pretty sure I got a glimpse into the future last night, and it was absolutely terrifying. Have you seen the movie Bugonia that just came out with Emma Stone? If you haven't, let me just tell you this. I was not prepared for that experience, and I don't even know if I want to call it an experience. It was mind-blowing. The concept of the movie is about Emma Stone, who's a CEO, but the twists and turns within her CEO life is where things start to take a potentially dark turn, and someone thinks that she's an alien from the Andromeda galaxy. Now in this film, first of all, if you know me and you're following me, you know that I believe art imitates life imitates art, and that things like movies, television, magazines, things with that much focus and visual representation that the whole world gets to see has an energy about it that I believe to be a prediction into the future or something that's currently happening. I mean, basically every movie that I watched as a child, I'm living in right now. So the parallel to that is, well, but this movie.
Terminator. Matrix.
Oh my God, it was so eerily connected to everything we have been talking about for the past year and a half. Three Eye Atlas, the Galactic Federation, the Council of Nine, Starseeds. It taps into everything. The ice wall, it taps into every single one of these theories per se. Whew. I got the shakes just thinking about it because it had such a powerful message and energy, twists and turns and if nots and whatnots. It was just cinematic masterpiece. At the same time, terrifying because the message within it is currently what is happening in our world. And if you've seen the movie, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a literal parallel universe to what's happening right now. It's such a great movie. If you haven't seen it, 10 out of 10, fantastic, but be prepared when that movie is over to have every third eye you might have be completely opened to the universe and connection. Fantastic. Go see that movie immediately.
People in the comments are saying Proximity on Prime is also a good watch. If you have something that you highly recommend we check out along the same lines, drop it in the comments below. I wasn't going to watch this movie, honestly, but I'm going to have to check it out. I mean, just looking at this picture, it looks like she's trying to pop the firmament with some type of horse-looking demons behind her. You know, look at the red. Shout out to Phil's Pixel for dropping the part 2 for us on what's really going on with these mystery weapons.
What exactly is this sonic wonder weapon the US used against Venezuela to capture Maduro? Well, a few years ago, they straight up showed us they can attack people with invisible waves using a special device called an active denial system, ADS, which shoots a beam of high-frequency microwaves towards a victim, causing them to stop dead in their tracks, vomit, or even feel like they're on fire. A news reporter tested it out for himself at low strength, and, well, it works. What people are claiming they're hiding from us is that these microwaves can affect our minds just as much as they do our bodies. Tune the frequencies just right and they can technically implant thoughts into your mind, which may have actually been the cause of the yet unexplained Havana syndrome in Cuba back in 2016, where
Voice to skull technology.
dozens of diplomats, CIA officers, and military personnel described a sudden onset of auditory hallucinations, pressure inside of their heads, vertigo, dizziness, nausea, migraines, and doctors even found brain tissue damage similar to that of a concussion in the victims, which are all symptoms of these microwave weapons, and exactly what the Venezuelan troops experienced too. The Havana syndrome event remains a mystery, but it's speculated these invisible frequency weapons were being tested on unwilling victims in Cuba at that time. Actually, it's kind of more likely that these symptoms were caused by LRAD, the long-range acoustic device, a similar weapon already commonly used by police and special forces. These are no secret, an ultrasonic weapon that launches high-frequency sound waves, causing nausea, disorientation, vertigo, and pressure inside the skull of the victim. Sounds very familiar. This one can also rupture your eardrums and cause permanent hearing loss. And I can't help but remind you that this technology has been publicly showcased for over 15 years. Whatever they have now, just try to imagine this, but 100 times more advanced and powerful. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if they had it attached to drones now.
real laser weapons tested just 2 years ago by Britain's Navy called Dragonfire, which can melt objects the size of a coin from over a kilometer away using a high-powered laser. You already know the US Navy had to one-up them by testing Helios, a 60-kilowatt directed energy laser weapon, fully confirmed and out in the open, which can also fry victims and burn holes through anything like a lightsaber with a 16-plus kilometer range. And then there's China, and well, let's just not talk about China. In fact, China isn't even talking about China, and I don't think we're ready for what they're cooking. Like this giant supersonic laser death cannon rumored to have been developed by them. This video in particular was allegedly debunked to be AI, but I honestly would not be surprised, because talks of high-powered microwave and directed energy weapons, DEWs, have been out in the open for decades.
They over there building Gundams. That's what that is. They're trying to weaponize Gundams.
Hexagon straight up admitted they were working on weapons of this nature back in 2001, where the US Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld publicly stated directed energy weapons are in the early stages of development. And he looked hella uncomfortable talking about it. 25 years ago, by the way. The Department of Defense even had an entire task force dedicated to DEWs back in 2007, and the entire report is available online, which talks about, among many other things, using radio frequencies to simulate debilitating fevers in humans. And if held for too long, it can cook the brain, causing permanent damage and loss of life. A literal fever laser. Even recently, National Defense authorized cognitive electromagnetic warfare as a line item in their budget for fiscal year 2026 at $44 million. What in the hell is cognitive electromagnetic warfare? Are they really using these beam weapons to manipulate our own thoughts? Historically,
they're hacking our biofield, is what it is.
The technology that government militaries disclose to the public are really what they already had over 10 years ago, and we can bet that's still the case today. Because we have high-ranking military officials like US Navy engineer Salvatore Pace, the man who owns several patents on the most insane government technology ever, like a portable fusion device, gravitational wave generators, and, well, zero-point energy UFOs. This man explicitly warned US adversaries years ago about the technology they would use to fight against them, telling them, quote, "It'll be quick, it'll be very dirty, and you'll never do it again." His words. And everything we've seen are just the infant stages of the type of technology they're using, and they definitely used in their raid to capture Maduro. In Fortnite terms, they're showing us PlayStation 1 features when they're already on the PS9. The Venezuelan military security told the world what really happened behind the scenes, and we can't even imagine what they actually have. Some even citing they are using reverse-engineered alien technology from UFO crashes like Roswell Roswell and more recent ones like the Bugosphere. The things these super weapons can do is downright disturbing. And now, especially with AI, this technology is just going to improve parabolically until they can capture entire countries without barely lifting a finger.
Oh my God. He said it perfectly. He said reverse engineering alien technology. I mean, we already see the TR-3B, so many sightings, UFO sightings of that, you know, but this is the first glimpse of a taste of the systems being weaponized. And look, did you see what China was working on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Follow the natural magnetism of the body all the way around, from the relay node to the sensor nodes. That is what they're logging into, intra-body communication for biometrics. That's how deep they are. Intra-body, using your nervous system under the skin. Everything you see here, non-contact, wireless. And all of it in the hands of our DHS. With the help of the nerds from DEF CON for all these data sets. And I've said that for years. So if we don't start talking about the HOW here and stop telling people fear, 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 and every 5 minutes, it's another dance around of, oh, the body's not electrical. Oh, biosignals come from towers. Oh, we're all just so stupid. No, nobody is this damn dumb. They just want nothing to do with telling the truth about the HOW.
I feel like the tinfoil hat isn't going to cut it anymore. I know people joke around like, oh, tinfoil hat. You know what I'm saying? We need a magneto helmet made of adamantium or something. You know, we could just put on and it could just block all that. A brain architect's darkest quote.
It's kind of like the final piece in the puzzle. You might be able to make inferences about what a person is thinking from their facial expressions and from their eye movements.
I started to see companies with prototypes that were embedding brain sensors into everyday devices like a watch or a wristband or headphone.
You all experience oxytocin. It's the cuddle hormone. If you could actually give it to the person who's being interrogated, they may come to bond and better trust the person who's interrogating them and more willing to share information with them. You can also do that through modifying memory as well.
So, well, you'll say, privacy's gone already. It's all right. But wasn't your brain the one area in which you thought you would always have some sense of privacy?
And this is it. This is our last bastion of privacy, I think. And it's almost over. All right?
The last bastion of privacy is unbelievable. That Magneto helmet doesn't seem as funny anymore, does it? I'm telling you, that might be the answer. Some type of helmet. Tinfoil, they're going through that tinfoil, man. We need some type of helmets now.
The world isn't here to make you happy, it's here to awaken you. The ultimate purpose of the world is to make you conscious, to find God within this dimension of depth. Something is built into life to challenge you, frustrate you, not to satisfy you. So the whole assumption that the world is here to satisfy you creates a lot of suffering, because every time you get challenged, you complain and say, oh, this shouldn't be happening. The world isn't here to make you happy, it's here to awaken you.
That was very well said.
President Donald Trump just signed an order to supercharge AI. In the plans for this include things like health, infrastructure, quantum mechanics, and quantum physics. And guess what the name of it is? The Genesis mission. They'll be using scientific data sets such as those managed by NASA, the National Institutes of Health, and other government science agencies. Together, these add up to many billions of measurements, images, and computer simulations about everything from the deep ocean to outer space to the human genome. Accelerate simulation? The White House website is also treating this as a super urgent issue. Why would this be super urgent? This definitely feels like they know that Jesus is returning soon. And I'm going to keep it real. I think that the whole thing with this is that they're going to try and simulate reality as it's falling apart or as people are removed or whatever happens. They're trying to make copies of everything and have stored images of things. The caption that they wrote says, a national effort to accelerate scientific breakthroughs using AI and propel America into the golden age of innovation. The first golden age were the days of Noah right before the flood. President Donald Trump just signed.
Because if you think about it, if you're trying to supercharge something, you know, you need it cooled rapidly. If they got it in Greenland in Arctic conditions and they supercharging those graphic cards and computers, you know, they might keep the systems cool enough so they can be supercharged. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What is going on?
You found the thing you had to hide to survive. You were never supposed to be this aware, this intuitive, this different. So you learned early that being yourself was dangerous. You got quieter, duller, smaller. You apologized for taking up space. And somewhere deep inside, a part of you went into hiding. A part Jung knew well. This isn't about lost potential. This is about survival strategy. You didn't choose to hide your gift. Your psyche did it for you. It knew what the world does to people who shine too bright, who see too much, who feel too deeply. But here's what Jung discovered that changes everything. That hiding wasn't permanent. It was preparation. And if you're reading this now, it means the hiding is over. The child who could read emotional temperatures in rooms before they learned. Multiplication. Who knew when adults were lying before they understood what lying meant? Who felt everything everyone around them felt and thought that was normal until they realized nobody else did? That was you. And the world had no idea what to do with you. Jung documented this pattern across his clinical work spanning decades. Children born with what he called differentiated perception. Not better than others, just different. They processed reality through additional channels most people never develop. They saw patterns in behavior, felt shifts in energy, knew things without knowing how they knew, and every single one learned the same survival lesson. Hide it, or be hurt by it. Your family didn't have language for what you were, so they called you sensitive, dramatic, too much. Your teachers saw your insight as disruption. Your peers felt exposed by your presence and pushed you away. Nobody meant to damage you. They just didn't have the consciousness to hold what you naturally were. So your psyche made a decision. If I can't be seen safely, I won't be seen at all. Jung called this the concealment of the golden shadow. Most people only think of shadow as the dark parts we hide. Our anger, our selfishness, our cruelty. But Jung knew we also hide our light, our intelligence, our power, our gifts. We push them down into the unconscious when we learn they threaten others. And yours went deep. You learned to dumb down your observations, to pretend you didn't notice what you noticed. You'd see someone struggling and instead of naming it, you'd stay silent. You'd feel the tension in a relationship and learn to ignore your knowing. You developed what Jung called protective blindness, the ability to unsee what you saw, to unknow what you knew, to unfeel what you felt. The cost was immediate. Chronic fatigue from the energy it takes to suppress natural ability.
Damn, this video's hitting a little too hard. I've done that before where I've stayed quiet just because I didn't want to have to go through the motions.
Depression from living disconnected from your truth. Anxiety from the constant monitoring of how much of yourself was safe to show. Physical illness as your body stored the stress of constant self-betrayal. You thought something was wrong with you. Jung knew something was wrong with your environment. But the psyche is smarter than we know.
There's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the environment. I love that.
While you were learning to hide, it was also learning, cataloging, preparing. Every person who rejected your insight taught you about projection. Every family member who demanded you be smaller taught you about ego fragility. Every friend who couldn't handle your depth taught you about consciousness levels. You weren't just hiding, you were studying.
I remember I tried to talk to my older friends from high school about some of this stuff, and they'll flat out tell me, Chuck, this stuff is too scary. I don't want to talk about this anymore. That's literally what they told me. Chuck, this stuff is just too scary. I don't want to hear that.
Consider a case profile that illustrates this pattern perfectly. We see this dynamic clearly in the story of someone with highly differentiated intuitive perception who came to understand their gift only after years of suppression. This individual could walk into any room and immediately sense the psychological atmosphere. Who was lying? Who was in emotional pain? Who harbored secret resentments? They didn't choose this ability. It was simply how their nervous system processed information. But this gift created immediate problems. They couldn't engage in small talk because they saw through every social facade. They couldn't maintain.
I don't care about sports. Who's on the Super Bowl? I don't care. I want to know who built these ancient structures and what's behind this wall. I don't care about Diddy. What's going on? Diddy's getting released in 3 weeks. I don't care.
Friendships because people felt exposed and uncomfortable around them. They couldn't hold employment because their presence disrupted the unconscious agreements that keep groups functioning smoothly.
I'm convinced he's talking about me now. You know, Chuck, you gotta fit into the work culture. What does that even mean? Work culture. So whatever you guys want me, whatever agenda you guys got going on here, can I just work hard and do my job and get paid and go home without having to deal with work culture? It's like you just can't go to work and work hard nowadays. People gotta like you, which I get. You know, you want to be around someone pleasant. You know, you don't want someone scowling at you all day, but whatever happened to just working hard and going home? Those days are over with. You gotta call people by the right names. You can't miss a beat. You gotta walk on eggshells. You gotta be smiling every day. You can't let nothing wrong happen when you show up to work. Hey, do you think you want to take the day off? We just noticed something's a little off. You're not your normal self.
Smoothly. What looks like social failure was actually perception. You found the thing you had to hide to survive.
Damn, I want more of that. That's all they had. I can listen to that for hours. That last clip was scary, how much it was talking about me. And if you're watching this video, I guarantee you it's talking about you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Talk to me. If you thought you weren't going to get another excellent specimen today, check this out. Yeah, this is extraordinary. The golden pyrite. All right, let's rate it, guys. If I had to rate this, I would give this a 8.9. You can see like the golden steps and like the colors, the reddish, oranges, and then yellow. Very interesting. I would have to name this the Golden Steps or the Golden Pyramid. What would you guys name this? I would have to go with the Golden Steps. But it does look like it appears to be a pyramid on top. Very interesting specimen indeed.
You've probably sensed what makes this threatening to people who haven't developed inner richness. These solitary individuals appear mysterious, even threatening, because their contentment challenges the assumption that human happiness requires constant social validation and external entertainment. It's evidence of psychological development that most people never attempt. They've learned to enjoy their own company because they've made their inner world worth visiting. This development is actually essential for healthy relationships. You've likely observed that people who can't tolerate being alone often become psychologically dependent on others in ways that diminish rather than enhance connection. If you've ever chosen to stay home alone instead of going to a social event and felt genuinely happy about it, comment, "I found myself in the silence."
I found myself in the silence.
Your experience has probably shown you that the person who chooses solitude from inner richness brings more to their relationships, not less. They engage with others from fullness rather than emptiness, choice rather than desperation, strength rather than need.
Life becomes a curse when you become conscious. This is something no one wants to hear, but that's the truth, because awareness doesn't make things brighter. It strips the paint off everything you thought was real. Try watching a movie after that. You don't get lost in the story anymore. You see the messaging, the patterns, the fingerprints of whoever paid for the script, the way ideas are planted instead of told. The magic is gone because
I'm telling you, every show I'm watching, I'm terrified about what type of agenda are they going to throw at me in this movie. What are they trying to sneak in? You know, that's probably why I don't enjoy movies anymore, because it's like I'm constantly worrying about, are they about to put something in my face I'm really not about to like?
your brain won't shut up and play along. Go to a party and it's even worse. Everyone looks like they're running old code, repeating the same lines, the same jokes, the same insecurities dressed up as confidence, a room full of people chasing dopamine and pretending it's connection. Go on a date and you don't see romance, you see conditioning. You see old wounds, validation habits, roles learned early and worn well, masks polished over years of needing approval. You're not cruel for noticing it, you're just awake. That's the part no one prepares you for. Consciousness doesn't free you, it separates you. It pulls you out of the noise and leaves you standing alone while everyone else keeps clapping for the show, calling it normal because they need it to be. Once you see how the world is stitched together, you don't go back to innocence. You live with clarity, and clarity is quiet, uncomfortable, and lonely. What's left isn't happiness or despair, it's silence, and silence at least doesn't lie.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
You need to pay attention, because you've been misled about who you were all along. You hold way more power than anyone knows. People called you soft, emotional, fragile, but that was never the truth. Your sensitivity wasn't a flaw, it was power wrapped in the wrong story. And the world learned to use that power against you before you ever learned to use it for yourself. Because here's the twist no one tells you. A healed empath isn't calm, gentle, or easy to handle. A healed empath is dangerous, not to the good, but to everything that feeds on chaos, manipulation, and emotional imbalance. When an empath heals, they have a drastic shift. They become the one thing people never expected. Empaths were never meant to be the quiet background characters. They were placed in the middle of chaos for a reason. You were the one born into unstable families, heavy rooms, conflict-filled relationships. Not because you were weak, but because you were the only one who could keep the energy from collapsing. You were the stabilizer, the hidden guardian, the one who could sense what others refused to see. But before you healed, you didn't know your purpose. You didn't know that people weren't drawn to your kindness. They were dependent on your balance. They used your energy to soothe their wounds while leaving you empty. But now, you're no longer the stabilizer who sacrifices yourself for everyone else. And the moment an empath steps into that role, everything around them begins to shift. Fast. Before healing, an empath often clings to anything that feels familiar. Relationships, friendships, even situations that drain them, simply because the idea of being alone felt worse than the cost of staying. They were constantly trying to save people, hold everything together, and avoid abandonment at all costs. But once an empath heals, something extraordinary happens. The fear of being alone disappears, and in its place rises a quiet inner strength that surprises even them. A healed empath doesn't chase, doesn't cling, and doesn't beg for a space in anyone's life. Their sense of self becomes so solid that aloneness no longer feels like emptiness. It feels like a sanctuary. It's where they think clearly, where they regenerate, where they grow sharper, wiser, and more rooted in who they are.
Fortress of Solitude is what I was about to say. Look, Solitude is next.
Solitude becomes their source of clarity instead of their source of fear. This is the stage where their power becomes undeniable. Because when an empath walks alone by choice, rather than by abandonment, they move differently. They move intentionally. They move with direction, with purpose, with an inner compass that no longer sways with the emotions of others. Healed empaths don't walk with a crowd, they walk with their conviction. Their solitude is not quiet, it is concentrated. It is the reason they begin to make decisions without hesitation, cut ties without guilt, and trust their intuition without second-guessing. They may walk alone, yes, but the way they move carries the weight of an entire army, and that's the part people never expect. Not everyone deserves a front-row seat to your life, and a healed empath finally knows that. One of the most dramatic shifts happens when an empath heals. Their standards rise in a way that feels almost shocking to people who once had unlimited access to them. They stop giving their time freely. They stop letting people close just because they asked. And they stop believing they owe their energy to anyone who wants it. Healed empaths don't build walls. They build entry requirements. They become extremely selective about who gets near their inner world. This isn't fear. This isn't bitterness. It's self-respect. They finally understand that access to their heart, their presence, their attention, and their peace is a privilege, not a right. And privileges must be earned. This shift changes everything. The empath who once over-explained now speaks in clarity. The empath who chased toxic validation now chooses alignment. The empath who tried to fix everyone now helps people in a way that doesn't break them in return. They still care deeply, but they no longer sacrifice themselves to prove it. This is the phase where a healed empath stops living reactively, putting out emotional fires, absorbing everyone's chaos, and starts living intentionally. You need to pay attention, because you've been misled about who you were all along.
Some type of morphing plasmoid. This was captured in Brazil. They're saying it is a ship that's changing.
It's terrifying, but also like disturbing and sad at the same time. So this person's mom and aunt cleaned this place. I guess they do cleaning like for a living. They cleaned this place that used to be like a big mental asylum. And the aunt took this video when they were done, just kind of like showing around a little bit because it's like this giant place. And they didn't hear anything when they were taking the video or being in the house. But then when they watched it after, you can literally hear so many voices screaming, distressed voices, especially when they go like, I think she goes like upstairs or wherever she moves for a minute, you can really hear them. There's like so many spirits stuck in this place, I feel like. Watch it and let me know what you think.
Hey, Saint.
She's not having fun at all. She's like, we just cleaned this place and you record? If you don't put that camera down and help me carry this stuff to the car.
Oh, fuck. Someone's gonna get the car. Yeah.
I think it was an accent, but she literally just said that. Help me get this stuff to the car. I think that's what she said.
Okay, so this is terrifying, but also like just.
I mean, whenever I see checkered flooring on the ground, that already tells me everything I need to know. They may be getting some rituals going on in there.
What if Rome never actually fell? It just changed its name. When the United States was founded, its leaders didn't invent a new visual language for power. They chose one that had already ruled the world: Roman architecture. Look at Washington, D.C. The Capitol isn't an office building, it's a temple. The Lincoln Memorial isn't a monument, it's a shrine. Massive columns, perfect symmetry, stone designed to last centuries. These aren't modern design choices, they're ancient ones. Rome understood something fundamental. Power must look permanent. In the Roman world, architecture wasn't decoration. It was messaging. Law was sacred. Authority was centralized. The state was eternal. That same philosophy appears again in American civic design. The Senate, the Capitol, the eagle. Latin phrases carved into stone. These symbols weren't chosen randomly. They come directly from Rome. But this idea goes even deeper. In biblical interpretation, Rome is often symbolically linked to Babylon. Not just as empires, but as systems. Systems that organize power, control trade and law, and regulate the flow of information and technology. Babylon fell. Rome fell. But the system didn't disappear. It adapted. Some historians argue Rome never truly collapsed. It fragmented, evolved, and re-emerged in new forms. New capitals, new flags, same blueprint. The United States didn't inherit Rome's territory, it inherited its framework, the way authority is displayed, the way law is elevated, the way power is carved into stone.
Also the Latin written on the back of our dollar bills, you know? Don't nobody understand the Latin on the back of our money? Why would you put that there?
Hey, what's going on, buddy? You letting them? You got anything to tell anybody? Can you say hi to Kyle Underwood Photography? You're beautiful.
I can't help but look at the owl like he's trying to tell him something. Does anybody speak owl by chance?
You letting them? You got anything to tell anybody?
What did that owl say?